So if everyone in Alabama wanted slavery back, you'd be okay with that?
Sure. If everyone in the state wants it, go ahead. What do I give a
I just saw a clip of Donald Trump talking about how he's going to offer all of these U.S. farmers that have been here for 15 years that he would be normally deporting, which he is going to be deporting them, but he's now allowing them to come back and work for the farm owners and be owners of these people and take care of these people and have these people work for them and get benefits that non-citizens wouldn't get, but they still don't get citizenship. They're just here to work for people, to provide food for us. This sounds a little like something we've been through before.
If slavery never happened, then you would be in a grass hut. Yeah. Right? Well, we need reparations. Your reparations are that you get to live in America. You're welcome. You're welcome.
You get to have the Christian religion.
That's
live
right.
better than your ancestors.
The greatest moment in history for any brown or black country is the moment that the white man's ships arrive on your shore.
More divided now than it was when Martin Luther King marched when I was a kid. The Civil War was something that no one could do anything about because the whites, quote unquote, whites from the South are not the only ones that had slaves. Slaves are all over the world. Slaves still exist today.
You think there's a direct effect from slavery to how black Americans are able to live today?
No, I don't. They have a chance to learn. They live in the best country in the world. If they open their eyes and listen, instead of just focusing on their little area and people that they hang out with, they would learn a lot.
But from what you said, it sounds like you were born before the civil rights movement.
Oh, yeah.
So black people couldn't buy houses in your lifetime when you were maybe a baby.
I'm well aware of that.
You were 5. So you don't think there's any downstream effect?
I felt depressed at that time.
Yeah.
But that's what Martin was trying to correct. Right now, I see so many people living off the government handout.
I'm pretty sure welfare use per capita is higher in red states than blue states.
Yes, but there's so many people living off of the government handouts, and that is not that much farther away from slavery. They were a slave, they were given housing, food, clothing, medical care. The people asked them to work. Yes, there were landowners that were violent and mean to some of them, but there were others that were humanistic.
In America today, a white man with a high school diploma makes more than a black man with a master's degree. A white man with a master's degree makes more than a black man with a doctorate. You follow what I'm saying? So that is real. There was a study that was done not too long ago where white men who had a prison record and no college degree, were called back for a job more often than black men with master's degrees with no prison record at all. Right? There was a sister who just did a study. I just saw it the other day. She changed her name to a white woman's name.
I saw that.
You saw that?
Yeah.
On what is it? Indeed. What's the thing on
Indeed? Yeah, Indeed, and all those job sites. LinkedIn.
Right.
Indeed.
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And she passed herself off as a white woman, and she proved that there was discrimination. Same resume, same everything, but when she was Caucasian, way more job opportunities than when she was black. So that's a real thing. How do we change that? You got to change the system. Because here's the thing. We can't deny the American African his humanity for good and for bad. This is what I mean by that. There was a psychological study that was done. I forget the name of it, where they took a rat and they put the rat in a box. And they kept enticing the rat to climb out the box. And every time the rat tried to climb out the box, they kept getting pushed back into the box. So guess what happened after hundreds of times of trying to jump out the box and kept getting pushed back in? They stopped trying to jump out the box. The white man, a Charlie Kirk, will look at that and say, look at the lazy black. They not trying enough. They not working hard enough. What did I say? Don't discount the history. He's not going to talk about the fact that they've been trying to do that for the past 200 years, and they learned through experience that trying to get out the box is not the way you get out.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel once again. Thank you so much for always coming back and watching my video. So guys, I want you guys to just continue watching this video whereby really black people, they don't fear segregation, they don't fear slavery. After really threatens from the white folks, white America, how they want to bring back segregation. So I want you guys first to just watch this video and in the end how the reaction for the black American, the reaction of the white people, and in the end then I'll coming back with my final thoughts. And kindly, if you have been subscribed to the channel, consider to subscribe to the channel, like and also comment. I'm your host, Team Tasty Commentary.
If slavery never happened, then you would be in a grass hut. Yeah. Right? Well, we need reparations. Your reparations are that you get to live in America. You're welcome. You're welcome.
You get to have the Christian religion.
That's
live
right.
better than your ancestors.
The greatest moment in history for any brown or black country is the moment that the white man's ships arrive on your shore.
Let me tell you about what black people suffered through after those white men's ships arrived on their shores. They got hundreds of years of enslavement, oppression, abuse, torture, murder, rape. Not only did black former slaves get nothing after emancipation, President Andrew Johnson, a white Southerner, he made certain that white enslavers were made whole. Reparations, but not for former slaves, reparations for rich white slave owners. After the Civil War, blacks were kept poor, systematically poor, and with almost zero ability to grow wealth. Thousands of black prisoners were leased by southern states to former white enslavers in what were called convict leases, where blacks, again, worked for free while white men made themselves rich again from their labor and upon their broken backs. There were also sharecropping, which grossly exploited black work ethic while allowing the former enslavers to maintain their power and to continue to grow their wealth, their white wealth. Again, ultimately passing that on to future generations of their white descendants. Of course, during this time, there were also Jim Crow laws in place all over the South, which made it illegal for black Americans to occupy the same spaces as whites. Hospitals and bathrooms, private buildings, elevators, phone booths, restaurants, water fountains, everything that was white, which was everything, was off limits for black Americans. Black Americans. Jim Crow laws also intended to force black people into indentured servitude, to limit their voice in the political system by stripping away their constitutional rights to vote, and to control where they live. It was the American legal system explicitly designed for oppressing them. You know this though, Joel, right? So tell me, Joel Webbin, your goofy little sidekick maybe, or anybody else for that matter, black people should be thankful? Thankful? America wasn't a different nation back then. In so many ways, we are the same country, making the same mistakes, abusing the same peoples, reinforcing those same old traumas.
Meet Donald, former owner of the Los Angeles Clippers who got banned for saying racist things, but it's what he said that's the interesting part. See, Donald had a problem. He got this one girlfriend, right? Her name is V. She records one of their conversation and listen, he says, I love black people, but V, why I seen you taking a picture with a black person? V's like, you know who that black person was, right? It was none other than Magic Johnson. Donald said, yes, he rocks with Magic Johnson, but his problem was people saw this picture and called him and that it wasn't a good look for him. She says, so you don't like black people? He loses it and tells her she can be around black people all she wants. She could even watch Netflix with them, but just not in public. She says, you know I'm part black, right? He said, oh. He says, no. Can you remove it? She says, remove my black? Let's just change the subject. They change the subject. He wakes up the next morning and the tape's on TMZ. Now, here's where it starts to get wicked. See, this was during a year when the Los Angeles Clippers were finally really good. And they were about to play in a much anticipated game against the Golden State Warriors. The world was watching. They walk out and they cover the Clippers logo. The NBA said, ooh, that's not good. But they did the protest and okay, good. Then boom, the Miami Heat and most importantly, the best player in the world, LeBron James, flips their jerseys inside out. The NBA goes, oh, we got to do something. Now, to be fair, Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, was always going to do something, but no one knew what. Donald was still the owner of a team. You can't just take his team away from him. Adam, the commissioner, said, we're taking his team away from him. The commissioner gives Donald a lifetime ban from the NBA and forces him to sell the team. Donald said, I ain't selling no team. All the other owners got to get it approved. First of all, Adam said, everybody approved it. He said, Donald said, well, can you prove that I'm racist? They said, well, here are the court documents of you being sued for being racist. At one point, you said you wanted players who were poor, black, and from the South, and you wanted them to be coached by a white head coach. What'd that look like to you, Donald? Donald said, that don't look good. Donald Sterling's wife came in. He's married, by the way. She said, we can stop all this talking. I just sold the team. Donald said, ooh, the ops is here. Just because she's my wife and I gave her part ownership of the team. Can she do that? His lawyer said, yeah. Donald said, well, can we appeal the decision? The lawyer said, yeah. He takes the appeal and the lawyer never files it. So Donald claims that the NBA scammed him out of his team. He tries to sue them. A judge basically calls him an idiot, and the rest is history.
Trump said that the black jobs are doing very well.
Well, we're doing very well with the black jobs, African-American jobs.
I thought people just had jobs. I didn't know there was black jobs. You know what I'm saying? I thought people just had jobs.
The black jobs are doing very well. The black jobs are doing very well. I think they're doing well. Biden didn't do a good job with the black jobs. Black jobs are fantastic. Fantastic. They're amazing. We have mass incarceration. Black jobs are so perfect. They're doing such cheap labor in prisons. We got NFL. We got basketball. They're doing jumping high, running fast.
And where your black worker is really going to do well is when those factories open.
So black jobs are doing fantastic. Now we just got to get them back on the fields. We got to get the cotton. We got to get the sugar. We got to get it back. The black jobs are doing phenomenal. Our plan is working perfectly. Perfectly, okay? Those are the black jobs I'm talking about. I don't know what jobs you're talking about. You're talking about doctor, lawyer. No. We got that. White guys. White people have that. You guys got to get back to what you're good at.
So if everyone in Alabama wanted slavery back, you'd be okay with that?
Sure. If everyone in the state wants it, go ahead. What do I give a
That clip has been making the rounds, but there's another one that I saw that I think is as equally, if not more important to talk about.
My dad was better at leading the household. My mom was absolutely not. My boyfriend is literally better at leading everything. He takes over all. He basically is like my manager because I cannot get it together because I'm too emotional to handle all these things. I can't handle my deals and my contracts and people hitting me up and calling me and doing all these things. I'm literally not emotionally stable enough to do it. If I didn't have him, I would not be where I am in my career.
I think that there's a lot of women out there that want to take on that feminine role, that want to take care of the kids, that want to be at home.
Yeah, there's thousands.
I don't want to kind of lead. So I think that that's the majority point.
I talk to thousands of women every day. I'm in multiple group chats. Most of these women are 25 to 75. We all agree because we want to be in traditional relationships with conservative men, and most of us are, and a lot of them have kids. We don't want to do those things. We want to go back to a more natural approach to living because that is where we thrive and that's where we're happy. All the women that are the happiest are the ones that get to be at home with their, and they're statistically proven. Max Luger just did Max Luger just did a video on this. Statistically, right-leaning women end up happier. And the thing is, every single woman I talk to, we don't want to be girl bosses. We don't want to be CEOs. I don't feel accomplished at the end of the day working 15 hours and coming home and being masculine. I would love to just sit at home and cook and clean all day. And every single woman I hang out with and I'm aligned with feels exactly the same way. And to us, it's not a sign of weakness. It's actually where our strength and power is. I think we make it a home. We make it a beautiful life. And we're all very proud of that.
So I know it might not seem like it, but everything she said and the reasons she gave are all rooted in white supremacy. How can that be? I'm going to explain why, in part by reading from this book here, and I want you to keep in mind that this book on paramilitary and white power movements in America was published in 2018. American white supremacy had long depended on the policing of white women's bodies. The landmark Loving v. Virginia Supreme Court decision rendered anti-miscegenation laws unconstitutional in 1967. And public opinion polls showed that Americans not only rapidly came to disapprove of such bans, but also quickly forgot that a majority had held them dear just a few years earlier. However, social issues that were related to white women's sexuality, reproduction, and motherhood, but typically described without explicitly racist terminology, including opposition to busing, abortion, contraception, welfare, and immigration, appealed well beyond the white power movement. They extended to the mainstream new right base and mobilized the suburbanites in the political center. The continued focus on policing white women's sexuality and reproduction in the post-Vietnam War era indicates the tacit presence of white supremacy in many social issues that remained important to the new right in the 1980s and 1990s, and belies the idea of a colorblind mainstream. To be sure, the paramilitary structure of the movement meant that men held all leadership roles and that women's activism was circumscribed. Movement discourse regularly objectified women. Even when women donned their own camouflage fatigues and marched for themselves, as they did in the WPP, leaders still viewed them as mothers of future Aryan warriors and objects of sexual reward. Some wives of prominent leaders also rose in the movement by forming racist women's organizations affiliated with groups run by their husbands. Kathleen Metzger ran the Suburban Aryan Women's League in the 1980s. Several of her publications referred to the frustration of League members at getting no respect from the men and having no place in the movement. However, the League still proposed activities that hinged on traditional ideas of a woman's sphere, and even more important, as one flyer proclaimed, as bearers of the future white race. The Aryan Women's League located its concerns within the bounds of home and family, a terrain marked the movement as feminine. In addition to running their own organizations and producing their own printed materials, women in the white power movement worked extensively in the social sphere, contributing to the building and maintenance of social networks, recruitment, the production and circulation of family-oriented cultural products like recipes and homeschooling materials, and the social normalization of young activists. However, their role remained limited by the rigidly patriarchal and paramilitary structure of the white power movement, both in top-down leadership and in local operations of male-led cells. Indeed, the white power movement had evolved far past anything so easily recognizable as a hooded white-robed Klan march on Main Street. At Estes Park and in the militia movement in general, Ruby Ridge codified an alliance of tax protesters, radical anti-abortionists, militiamen, racists, identity Christians, survivalists, conspiracy theorists, and those who simply believed the U.S. government had grown too large. As anti-abortion fervor, resistance to gun control laws, and anger over big government grew among mainstream conservatives during the 1990s, the white power movement leveraged these issues for recruitment. And then I want to read you the end of the book. In the late 1990s, the movement largely relocated into the online spaces it had begun to build more than a decade earlier. Continued movement activity unfolded mostly out of public view. While a few scholars joined the watchdogs in monitoring and studying websites such as Stormfront, white power was generally regarded as a fringe and untenable ideology. There is, of course, insufficient historical distance or archival material to offer large-scale interpretations of the present moment. What is inescapably clear from the history of the white power movement, however, is that the lack of public understanding, effective prosecution, and state action left an opening for continued white power activism. The state and public opinion have failed to sufficiently halt white power violence or refute white power belief systems, and failed to present a vision of the future that might address some of the concerns that lie behind its more diffuse, coded, and mainstream manifestations. Understanding white power as a social movement is a project both of historical relevance and of vital public importance. Knowledge of the history of white power activism is integral to preventing future acts of violence and to providing vital context to current political developments. Violent outright racism and anti-Semitism were live currents in these decades, waiting for the opportunity to resurface in overt form. This story renders legible the many ways that racial ideology and incessant warfare have underwritten political issues that extend well beyond the fringe. It powerfully reveals how white power rhetoric and activism, time and again, have influenced mainstream U.S. politics, and most especially in the aftermath of war. Wanting to get married or have kids or be a stay-at-home mom or a homeschool, none of that is in and of itself inherently upholding white supremacy. It is asking yourself why you want those things. Because I hope in reading all of that, it helped to explain why everything she said and the reasons she gave are rooted in white supremacy. Like, flat out. She doesn't have to be overtly racist to understand the things she believes and why she believes them. White supremacy. And again, it's not to say you can't want those things. It is asking yourself why. And if the reasons you are giving me as to why are white supremacist talking points, we have a fucking problem. We're less than 3 weeks away from a critical election, and not just the presidency. There are a ton of down-ballot races, local elections that are going to have an effect on this. I really need white women to start thinking about what they believe and support and vote for. Because I don't think enough white women truly understand what's at stake. Like, white women are about to cost us the election again. In a way that, like, again, I don't think you really understand. This dream, this vision, this want you say you have for the future and your life, when it is rooted in white supremacy, it's never going to happen. Because white supremacy and patriarchy dictate that men and white men sit above anything and everything else. I made sure to include that portion of the book where she's complaining about how these men are not giving them any respect and there's no place for them in the movement. You think? I need you to really think about it and let it sink in. Following that rabbit hole all the way down, as a female white supremacist, she is complaining that the men are still not giving her a seat at the table. Because there isn't and will never be a seat at the table for women. Because again, white supremacy and patriarchy dictate that that never happened. Like, I really need our critical thinking skills to start clicking here. For every white woman I know is getting defensive right now, don't take it up with me. You need to ask yourself why the things you believe and the things you say you want, the reasons you're giving for them, are lining up with that of literal white supremacists, of people who are like Triple K, Shmeo Schmatzis, militia members, Klan members. Like, you need to ask yourself why the things I say I want and the reasons I'm telling people I want them line up with that of literal white supremacists.
So everybody's asking what a black job is, and like, if you don't know, you just don't know. So I'm gonna give an example, because I know. So for example, there's veneer techs. We really need those. It's the podcasters that ask if a relationship should be 50-50. We need them. The TSA at Atlanta Airport, they all black, really, mostly. The Allied Universal Security, there's always black people. The people that, you know, stand in like the little rooms and pop the balloons if they think somebody's ugly, we need that black job. The producers of Now That's TV, the producers of Tubi, the producers of Zeus, the intern at the Shade Room, the interns at the Neighborhood Talk, the creator of the Shade Room and the Neighborhood Talk. We really need those. We really need those. Those are our black jobs that these people are taking from us. And what he said was right. And this is not a Trump hat, by the way. But
do you want a black job?
Can you clarify that? And then I want to ask you specifically, Donald Trump said when it comes to the U.S. border, they're taking black jobs. He was talking about migrants taking black jobs. What is a black job?
Okay. Well, a couple things. First of all, you know what he meant by that, okay? He meant jobs that are filled by African Americans in America and others, Americans in general, but the question in specific was about black voters. He didn't ask that question, the moderators did, and so he segued into the impact that it's had on black voters, and that is very simple. When you flood a country with millions of people, you're going to have more competition for work. You are, and those workers are willing to do it at a lower wage, and that you see that in some of the fields like construction and trades. It impacts Hispanic communities as well. On your first question, look, the United States didn't invade Iraq.
I'm sorry.
The United States didn't come across. Go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead. Finish.
No. You were going to ask me something.
I wanted to clarify on what you were just saying about black jobs. You seem to be saying these are low-wage jobs.
No, they're not low-wage jobs. These are working-class jobs.
Well, you talk about migrants taking low-wage jobs, and that he was talking about black voters.
No, what I said is that migrants are willing to come in and do it at a lower wage. They are, because they are willing to take work at a lower wage than an American would, and as a result, they get hired and not the American. And that is something that people have talked about for a long time. I didn't make that up. I'm not the first person to make that observation.
Wow, Marco Rubio. Thank you for clarifying it to the American people. Black jobs are low-paying jobs that you think black people do, and you also think the migrants are coming in and taking those low-paying jobs. How much is Donald Trump paying you, Marco Rubio, to get out here and clean up his mess? He can't be paying you much. And if that's the case, maybe you also have one of those so-called black jobs. How could anyone black vote for Donald Trump after you've heard this kind of rhetoric? If you do, shame on you. Trump supporters, get those knee pads and those elbow pads ready, because Jack Smith, Fonnie Willis, and Letitia James are coming for you. It's over, MAGA. It really is. Oh, and by the way, shout out to Alvin Bragg. He must have had one of those black jobs too.
So basically the black jobs was actually the jobs that the illegal immigrants was working, getting underpaid for. And that's what the fuck Trump plan was the whole goddamn time, was to get us back into these warehouses and in these fields picking strawberries and shit for little pay. I just came across a video that actually brought it all to me and made it make sense. And that's exactly what the fuck it is. When he say a black job, those are the jobs that he's talking about. Those illegal immigrants came over here, or even immigrants came over here, and they worked their ass off just for that little pay, which I don't feel that that's right. But he knew that no black person was going to go over there and do all that extra work in this economy and the last economy and get paid that little ass shit. So I just want all my black people to understand, and I want all my black people to know, even if those jobs are available, those jobs are not for you. And if we come over here trying to pick up the slack and pick up where everybody else pick up where they left off, baby, this country ain't gonna do shit but turn us back into fucking slaves. And I'll be damned if I be a motherfucking slave. If that job didn't have open positions when them illegal immigrants was here working them, they ain't got none now.
White people ultimately don't need other races in order to succeed, in order to be ourselves. Absolutely not.
So how do you think America became the greatest economic nation without...
Not through black people.
Oh, it wasn't? It wasn't because of free labor?
Are you talking about slavery?
No, I'm talking about slavery and also what happened after slavery, which Douglas Blackmun talked about, slavery by another name. So I'm trying to understand, when you say didn't need it, how do you think America became the greatest economy that it did? How do you think that happened?
Through the genius of Europeans.
How was the genius of Europeans when the fact of the matter is it was actually King Cotton that supplied the economic means for America to do so? And that was a result of free labor from black people.
Look, the whole point here is that who creates these systems? Who creates these business models and businesses?
Slavery was a business model?
Well, yes, it was a business model.
I asked you again, okay? You said we don't need anybody else.
No.
But the reality is, America history proves you wrong. The fact of the matter is, there is no great America. You can't sit here and talk about that greatness without other people making that.
Trump is going to bring back slavery. Hear me out. So I kept asking the question, why would Trump make government contracts with prison companies to build large facilities to hold all these immigrants that he's planning on arresting if he was planning on deporting them? And then I had an epiphany. Slavery technically is illegal in America unless you're incarcerated. You can look up our amendments. Slavery is illegal unless you're incarcerated. This is why some of the states have already started to put legislation forward that if you're arrested for being an illegal immigrant, they can hold you for an indefinite amount of time. This creates a labor force for the country that's almost free. So he's going to take the workers that were already in the population, take them out of the population, and put them back to work for even less money. Just to be clear, I have no proof of this. This is just my hypothesis. I really hope that that's not the case, but that makes the most sense. Why else would you need to build so many housing facilities for prisoners if you were planning on deporting them all? And also, our government knows who picks all of our fruits and vegetables. They know who builds our roads. It's not legal citizens. The majority of them are not legal citizens. White people aren't sitting in the fields getting strawberries and grapes. It's just not the case. You know, I knew they were rolling back years of progress, but I really didn't think we were going to go back to slavery.
So I want to talk about this article really quick because it's all starting to make so much sense right now. This author and journalist was having lunch with friends. There was a white guy and he's married to a black lady, and they were talking politics. And he says that farmers weren't worried about Trump deporting migrants because, wait for it, they thought because unemployment was so high for black people that these black people would run back to the fields and do the jobs that the migrants were doing when they got deported. So she asked, where'd you get that information from? White farmer TikTok or MAGA Facebook memes? Where'd you get this information from? And her and the wife basically started giving him information, letting him know unemployment is only 6.8% for African Americans, and 93% of black people are currently working. Got so caught up in what they were hearing at Fox News and other places, thinking black jobs, immigrants are taking black jobs, that they just assumed they'd get rid of the immigrants and black people would take the immigrants' jobs. Sir, our ancestors did not march, die, and fight for civil rights so we could go back to the fields? What? But shout out to the Latino immigrant population that have mastered that labor with skill and stamina. This country doesn't even appreciate it enough. Oh, and by the way, when they do try to hire Americans, black or white, to do those jobs, most of them don't even last half a day. They just ghost them without even picking up their paychecks. True story. So y'all, tell me, do you really believe that they thought black people were planning to replace immigrants in that labor force if they got deported? Because I need to know who was smoking that logic. What do you think?
Hello guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for always watching the entire clips. So, one thing I love Black American, Black people, these people, they are the true Israelites. These people, they don't fear anything. They are the fearless. And remember, white people, they have the history of the Jim Crow, the history of the segregation, the history of the slavery. And the Black people, they don't have any bad history. And this all intimidation, how the Black people have been suffering, they have been used to be. But now things are really changing out. Black people, they are not backing down. Black people, they are now fearless. They are telling them the reality. Because during the how these people build this system of the Jim Crow, this system of the segregation, how they are being built, they were really built for the heart of the Black American. So Black American, they were just given this system to be hurt them. But one thing they have now realized, things has changed. They didn't expect these things to change fast as per now, because wherever they do any resolution, maybe against hurting the Black people, they always backfire. The repercussion always coming back to them. And that's why we have seen some of them me coming out and start telling us how Black people are not complaining, how Black people are not suffering, how Black people are not crying. Those are the words always using, because they know that very well, that Black people were people who were always complaining. Wherever they see, they are always complaining how how the system is not affecting them. So these things that is really telling us is the Black people have been used. I can relate this story how these people came out and elected Donald Trump, because Black people, they want him, that this man will not make American great. This man will make America to suffer. But surprisingly, these people, they didn't listen. They didn't listen any advice from the Black community. But now, look the repercussion part of it. Look how these people, how they are really suffering. How they are really coming out and saying that, oh, we cannot afford live in America. We cannot afford buying grocery. We are losing our farms. We are losing our businesses. That is such kind of what these people, they are always crying out. They cannot really afford to live. That is the some of the situation how these people, they are really coming out and telling us. So this system of segregation they used to be is turning against them. It's really hurting them very, very badly. But God of blacks always there, because we have always believed on God's blacks. But now they are telling us how to bring back slavery. And we know how this slavery affected our brothers and sisters, our grandchildren, our granddaughters, how they are really affected by this slavery. Because this slavery is really hurted us. We were being separated. Our Black people separated from this slavery. But now the unity is here. The Black people now, they have the unity. So wherever they really come out with their own slavery, I know that it will not work. And that's why you always see the Black people saying that bring back segregation, bring that slavery, so that we know who will suffer from this slavery, or who will suffer from this segregation. Because these people, they know that they always depend much on black people. They don't, when you just go, you do your research or seeing these people, they always depend much on the black people because black people, they have their minds. This mind is always, they always use our mind. So wherever they really talking about maybe bringing back segregation, maybe Jim Crow, they have this history of killing. But one thing I also know that wherever these people see any black history goes viral, they always start complaining that why they always coming out and say that study complaining how they cannot afford how they, that is how these people has been used to be. So I want to hear your thoughts in comment section how these people, how they are really planning to bring back segregation, to bring back slavery to the America. And I would also love to hear your thoughts in comment section. Bye for now. And kindly, if you have been subscribed to the channel, consider to subscribe to the channel, like and also comment. I'm your host, Tim Tessie.